Shalom, shalom, family. So my name is Sean Judah, otherwise named Yehukanon Yehuda, and in this teaching today in Towards One Stick, we'll be going over knowing the enemy's tactics, because as we see these days during near or prophetical times, the enemy is going to war or wage war against the Most High's people, the Most High's chosen, the Most High's assembly. And he's going to do that through the same tactics that he has been known to do for centuries, for millennia, all his life, from the creation of his being. He doesn't change in his tactics. And so we can identify these tactics and walk in the sum and walk in wisdom and be able to counter those tactics with the Most High's power and victory that he has already planted and granted to us, so long as we cleave to him in faith. And so, just bringing out the teaching today, I hope it brings clarity. So, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that's going to be our focal point of this teaching today: killing, stealing, and destroying. So, with introduction, I will see in Yehukanan or John 10:10 that it states, "The thief comes not but to steal, to kill, and to destroy." And so Hashatan's warfare is subtle, strategic, and it's often disguised. It's masked. All right, it's not going to be obvious, but his mission is to rob you of your purpose, rob you and destroy you of your purity and kill your connection to the Most High. But I'm about to show you how he does it so that we make sure that we in these times do not fall into the snare and trap of the enemy that he has for us. Because we know, just as he tried to sift Peter as we, he's trying to sift us as we in these days. So let's go over it, and I hope it's a blessing. So point number one, stealing. Right, the enemy is a liar, right? The devil is a liar. He comes to steal. And so the ways that he tries to steal is, first of all, he steals time. This is through distractions, whether that be social media or entertainment through various means, endless scrolling, time that you'll never get again, time that you'll never be able to utilize again for the Most High. That is how he steals, right? First of all, for your time, right? Wasting your youth instead of walking in your calling. Right? For many people in this walk, they wish that they were serving the Most High in their youth, that they were in this truth from a very young age. But we know that the enemy tries to steal your youth. He tries to keep you under his yoke early, you know, so that you don't walk in your calling early, so that you're struggling later on in life to know what the Most High's will is for you, you know. Aside from that, he encourages procrastination and spiritual laziness to keep you stagnant in this walk, right? We have people in this walk, let's say, many years, right, decades on out. You ask them, what have they done for the Most High? They haven't got a clue because they lost so much time through distractions. They lost so much time, endless scrolling. They lost so much time not realizing they need to be circumspect and wise and prudent, because time is something that you can never get again. So always remember, the enemy comes to steal through your time. Second of all, he comes to steal your peace. And this is done through constant anxiety, constant fear, constant overthinking, right? It stirs up confusion, making you worry about your future. Even though the Most High states all things work together for good to them who love the Most High, to them who are called according to his purpose, but the enemy will never make sure you remember that. And so you have no hope, no future, right? No sense of anticipation for the Most High's promises. That is how he steals your peace, right? Another way that he comes to steal is by stealing your identity. The enemy makes you doubt that you're chosen or loved by Abba or Father, right? He pressures you to conform to the world and not to the word. I'm going to repeat that again. He pressures you to conform to the world, but not the word. And he pushes false labels like, I'm so unworthy, or I'm a failure, or I'm not good enough. Steals your identity, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are created in the Most High's image, that you have a hope and calling, that you are his son or daughter, that you do have the victory. Another way, he steals the word. As soon as you read scripture, for many of us, when we hear the truth, he brings distraction so you forget it. When you're praying before the Most High, that you suddenly feel tired, suddenly feel, like you want to sleep. That's how he tries to steal the word sown in your heart. Like the parable of the sower. The fowls of the air came to devour the seeds as soon as they hit the ground. And aside from that, that causes spiritual amnesia. You can't recall what the Most High said, what first saved the Most High, when you're in battle, when the enemy tempted Yahusha in the wilderness. Yahusha came with the scriptures. The Most High, Yahusha came with, the words, the Torah, right? The scrolls. But what the enemy doesn't want is for us to repeat Yahusha's footsteps. He wants us to forget those scriptures. He wants us to lose sight, have that spiritual amnesia, forgetfulness, so that we have the word stolen from us. We have our identity stolen from us, our peace stolen, and our time robbed, right? So that's point number one. The enemy comes to steal. And so point number two, the enemy comes to kill, right? Killing. So the first way that he kills is he kills your faith, right? He plants seeds of doubt. Did the Most High Yahuwah really say that? Like the serpent in the garden, yea, has the Most High really said, you must not eat of every tree of the garden? Same way, plant seeds of doubt. Another way is that he uses your unanswered prayers or trials to make you question if Yahuwah really cares for you. If the Most High truly cared, he would answer your prayers. Or if the Most High truly cared, he wouldn't bring you through this trouble. Little did you know, if you really listen to the Most High and his word and his sayings, you would know that it's truly to build you up, not to pluck you down. It's to refine you, to purify, to add worth to your name, add worth to your character. But the enemy tries to kill your faith by making you question the Most High's care and love for you. But if he never cared for you, then he wouldn't even be in your life. He would leave you a long time ago. But he said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So keep that in mind. Another way that he kills your faith is that he surrounds you with people who make you feel like your beliefs are extreme or outdated. Why are you following, a man's book? Why are you following words written by man? All that lifestyle that was thousands of years ago. We're living in today. We're living in 2025. Those people, that's how they kill your faith. And so that's one way that the enemy kills. He kills your faith. Second of all, he kills your purpose, right? He tries to seduce you into sin so you abandon your calling, right? He keeps you locked in cycles of shame, self-condemnation and guilt so you never rise to your full potential. And he kills relationships. So he sows jealousy, bitterness, and even unforgiveness for your brothers and sisters to destroy bonds that were meant to help you grow, not to help you be stagnant, but help you grow in his faith. So he pushes you toward unequally yoked relationships to drain your spirit. Another way is that he kills your self-control, right? He makes you believe that lust, anger, or even laziness are just natural. And so he does your conviction over time until sin no longer bothers you. Sin no longer has a weight on your conscience. All right, so that's how he kills, right? He kills your faith, your purpose, your relationships, and your self-control. So point number 3, he comes by destroying, right? He destroys your purity. And so that's by flooding your mind with, for example, hypersexual images, music, or even media. He normalizes pornography, fornication, or casual relationships away from a true covenant that the Most High ordained from the beginning, leaving your father and mother and cleaving to your wife, cleaving to your helper me, cleaving to your soulmate. And he tells you, everyone does it, so what's the harm, right? That's how he destroys your purity, destroys your sense of right and wrong, destroys your consecration to the Most High, not being defiled by people, not joining unto harlots. And another way that he destroys your confidence in this walk. He compares you with others constantly to crush your self-worth. I feel so great as you say you are. Why are you not doing as good as that brother or sister? Why are you not bearing that amount of fruit that brother or sister has done? And he's only been in this truth for like a year. That's how it destroys your confidence. You start looking at others. You stop looking at the crops and the plants and the water and the Most High is growing in your own field. That's how it destroys your confidence, man. He uses your past sins. He uses your failures to convince you that Yahuwah can't use you. But even though the Most High, he doesn't operate in that way. The Most High, he has a future for you, even if you fall short of your glory. Because we know that there's not a just man that walks upon the earth that sins not, according to Ecclesiastes. And so even if you sin, even if you fail sometimes, he can always use you. Moses was a murderer. David was an adulterer, Saul was a murderer, and he used each and every single one of these men for his glory. And you think that you're exempt from the Most High's capabilities, you're so mistaken. So another way that he destroys your consistency, he makes you hot one day for the Most High, then cold one day, then even lukewarm the next, right? So you never grow roots. And so it causes you to rely on emotional highs instead of daily discipline. Because let's be real, our emotions can deceive us every single day. We're not always going to feel happy for the Most High. So what, we're going to allow for us to drift into sin because we're not feeling happy over time? No. It's discipline that we need, self-control. Take up your cross and follow him. And let me tell you this, Yahushua didn't feel like dying for us, He didn't feel it emotionally, but he knew it from discipline that he must obey the Father as well. And so the same way, we shouldn't allow for emotions to dictate our obedience to the Most High, because that's how we get nothing done. Because let's be real, this narrow road is hard, it's troublesome, it's got obstacles, it's never gonna feel so good 24/7. So we shouldn't allow for our feelings to get in the way of discipline. Shouldn't allow for emotional highs to get in the way of long-term obedience, long-term servitude to the Most High, our Father. And so another way that he destroys is conviction. He overexposes you to sin until your conscience is numb. He makes holiness seem boring or impossible. For a lot of us, we've lost our first love, like it says in Revelation, right? To the seven assemblies of Asia. So we need to return back to our first love, have that same conscience, right? Have that same guilt, have that same conviction. We need it because when we have our conscience numb, that's how we turn reprobate. So we need to reclaim that conviction that the enemy tries to destroy, that consistency, right? That confidence, that purity. Because these are every single pillar that he tries to destroy in our lives, right? But we need to reclaim it. Reclaim, says the Most High. Yah. And so, what's the solution? Because we have all these different categories, right? He steals, right? He kills, he destroys. What's the solution for all of these tactics? All right, because I don't want you to come out here in this teaching thinking that, there's nothing that you can do, and that there's no power in you to counter these attacks, because that is not the case. There are some solutions, right? You must stay alert, right? Catholic Rishon or 1 Peter 5:8 states, be sober, be vigilant, right? You must be awake. Right? You must be, you know, a child of the day and not of the night. You shouldn't be slumbering. You need to be awake. You need to be alert each and every single day. You need to always keep in mind the enemy's never going to be easy on you. He's never going to be soft on you. All right, he's always gonna come and try and make your life a living hell because he knows that you're not gonna go to hell as it is. So he's gonna try and make sure your life right now mirrors the torment of hell. That you're avoiding through your husha. Does that make sense? So you must be alert, stay sober. Because if you're not sober, if you're not alert, he'll come as a lion. He will eat you up, right? He will destroy you, right? He will kill you, right? He will rob you. So you need to fight with truth. We see in Aphesim 6:10-18, right? Put on the full armor, right? The hammer of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, right? The sword of the Ruach, right? The shield of faith, right? And the gospel of peace on our feet. We need it every single day, every single hour. Never go your days, never go, your mornings or your nights or your evenings thinking that you are, better than what you think, right? Don't ever think that you are, excused from putting on the armor because, we need it every day, They needed it back then. I need it now. We need the full armor every day, engulfed in our soul, engulfed in our mind, engulfed in our spirit. And so, aside from that, we need to pray constantly. I see in Lucas 21:36, I watch therefore and pray. All right. Another way is that you need to surround yourself with righteous influences. We see in Mashalia Proverbs 13:20 that it says, he that walks with wise men shall be wise. So your influence can greatly influence and greatly change the dynamics of the attacks that you receive, because how great and how pleasant it is for men, to dwell together in unity, for brothers to dwell together in unity, so keep yourself with the acts, keep yourself with the akuts, and the brothers and sisters, allow for them to encourage you along the way, and keep yourself guarded together. So allow no enemy, not allowing any attack to steal, to kill, and to destroy from the Most High's place in your life. And so the final solution, right? Guard your eyes, your ears, your heart. We see in Mashalia or Proverbs 4:23 that states, keep your heart with all diligence. For all of you are the issues of life, right? You need to guard your heart, right? The word for keep in that verse in the Hebrew is shama. You need to keep it, guard it. Everything that you have, keep your heart with all diligence. Don't allow for the enemy to have any gateway eat where he wants to steal from you. All right. And so that's a solution. So closing words, as we bring the study to a close, right? Hashatan doesn't need to possess you. All right. People have the misconception that the enemy possesses people, right? Principalities can possess you or oppress you, but Shatan, Hashatan doesn't do any of that. All he needs is to simply distract you, discourage, or deceive you, which is true, right? We went through the different lists. But Yahusha, he came to give you life, not survival, but abundant life. And so every time you choose to fight back, every time you stay set apart, every time you forgive, every time you obey, every time you endure, you rob Hashatan of his mission. So, closing words, stand your ground. You weren't made for mediocrity or compromise. You were chosen to overcome. Because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And one final encouragement I want to give to everyone here, all right, is that thieves never break into houses without value. And so if you see the most high, right, he's preparing you to have the enemy try and rob from you, right, steal from you, destroy from you. Always know and always consider that the Most High knows that you have value, and the Most High, he will make sure you're protected from those attacks. And the enemy, he can never touch the Most High's anointed. Alright. So, this is Sean Judah, otherwise named Yahukanon Yahuda from Towards One Stick. I hope this teaching was a blessing for everyone in attendance to this teaching. I hope people can learn from it, learn from it, be edified from it and grow from it. And so we are entering into prophetical times. And so we need to be alert because the enemy is always going to be relentless against us. He's coming to war against those who keep the Most High's commandments and those who have the testimony of Yeshua. And so we need to make sure that we're ready because the times are coming. Winter is coming. But we have the Most High to give us the warmth and protection and light. And so that being said, shalom, and I'll see you guys in the next video.